Hey guys, I'm Naomi and I'm joined here today with Dino and Flaymed, the owner and lead developer of Critz, to answer some questions asked by the community. And Dino's going to take it away with our first question.
For our first question, we would like to ask you, how did you first get into Minecraft server development and management?
So that is a good question. I started learning how to do Minecraft server development on a project called Invicta, which for those who may remember the Podcrash competitive league, that was kind of the early attempts to make a kind of home for the competitive leagues post Mineplex. That server didn't really work out just for various relations with the community and just kind of got like it got messy. So that kind of fell apart, but it really started my journey at least into learning how to like develop Minecraft servers. And then from there, I went on and started making my own clone of some Mineplex games. I made a Bridges clone in I think 2022, 2023 maybe. Like shortly after I left Invicta is when I really started that, and that was a big learning experience for me to kind of like get the foundational skills that I used to go and make crits.
All right, our next question is, what was the most challenging part of setting up or maintaining the server?
So, for me at least, I had never done a lot of like load balancing and like splitting up, like I guess resource allocation on a large server. Like we have a dynamic server system that will just spawn and destroy the private servers and casual servers as they're needed. So learning that was a big learning curve for me. And funny enough, the private servers was really hard and probably took me like 12 or 13 hours of like banging my head against the wall to get all of the games to like start and work properly, and especially like transitioning from one game to the other to be smooth. That took a while. And yeah, like I said, the learning curve just getting into that more like back-endy systems development, it was definitely like challenging for me because I'd never done it before, but I feel like I managed to kind of figure it out. And I mean, the system's stable, it works well, it's efficient, and I can't really ask for more, you know?
Awesome. You mentioned a learning curve. Do you have any unexpected like issues that you'd like to tell us about?
Um, Unexpected issues that came up. We actually did have a pretty funny issue when I was building the system originally, where it just got stuck in an infinite loop asking for servers. So it spawned in over 200 Cake Rush servers, or at least tried to, before my personal computer just crashed for because it ran out of memory. um, so that was actually pretty funny. I don't know how I actually managed to do that because it's an event-based system, but you know, we all make mistakes in the heat of the moment. Um, Something else that I was actually really funny is when I was designing the system, had an oversight where I left one of our config files, like exposed, and it didn't actually even do anything. It was just something I was like playing around with when I was trying to like figure out how it was all going to work behind the scenes. And then when we made the announcement that we were gonna like launch, or no, it was the just like server teaser. Somebody like port scanned our IP address and they were like, "Oh, their config is public. It's insecure. It uses like stolen data from Mineplex." When really it was just me from before we came up with the new names of the games, trying to figure out how it was all going to work behind the scenes. And the file they found, like literally just didn't do it. Like wasn't relevant to anything anymore. It was just kind of me putting garbage data in just to see what worked.
Oh my goodness. What are some things like you didn't expect when creating crits?
I honestly didn't expect to be as successful as quickly as it was. I thought it was going to take a lot longer for the community to kind of come on and try it out, especially when we launched ranked for Cake Rush and for Conquest. It was really interesting to see the players just jump right in at it and actually enjoy it, which was really nice to see. We had a big lull right after launch, which I expected just because we didn't have the um, we didn't have the rank system set up. We didn't have any infrastructure at all for that, really, even private servers, and no one really wanted to play the casual games. So it was really nice to see everyone just get on and start playing, and it's been a really rewarding experience getting to actually queue and play these ranked games with people who I've known for some of them, gosh, over 10 years.
So, what type of game modes does Crits offer?
Right now, we have four casual games, I guess we'll call them, and them being Bridge Brawl, Cake Rush, Dragon Run, Turf Rush, and Conquest. And those are really inspired off of old Mineplex games the community remembers. We tried to make some. We did really. We made some improvements for quality of life for the players. Made some balance changes on certain kits and tried to add some unique flair to everything. Bridge Brawl especially got the biggest overhaul. Um, like it's been shortened the bridge time. We added cut clean, so we tried to streamline the process a lot more. And then for any players who purchase a rank on our server and open a private server, they can access mini battles and Koth. Koth being just a stripped down version of Conquest, where there's only one beacon instead of the normal five and one available kit. It was a very popular like subculture on old Mineplex back in the day, and so we just wanted to add that kind of seamless support for people to use it. And it was actually really helpful for testing early on, especially when we were working with Barbarian Kit. A lot of people enjoyed playing Koth before ranked CCL came back out, and so that was a huge help.
That's awesome. So I know you mentioned games that were from Mineplex. Would you say that the games that you're making now are inspired by Mineplex games, or what will be the same and what will be different compared?
So, like I said, at least for our current games, some games we try to optimize them and try and add some balance changes, some quality of life updates. Some games you really can't like do that with. Like Dragon Run is kind of like just parkour. Like there really isn't much to change with that. Um, Same with Turf Rush. These are more so just for the like communities, respective communities for them. Most of our new content that we're working on, I would say, is straying away from that like old using Mineplex as an inspiration. You'll probably see a few more things with some Mineplex inspiration through the end of the year, but after that, we'll probably see a pretty big divergence into some more unique content.
Awesome.
So there have been rumors spreading about a remake of Mineplex's Clans. So when can we expect to see that released, and how will it be different?
So I guess we'll put the rumors to rest. There is a factions game mode being worked on, and it does use the Conquest kits. Um, we're gonna try our best to create a similar experience to what people had on the old server, but obviously we can't make it one for one. You know, there's like we can't just copy and paste it and say, "Oh yeah, look what we've done." When will it be ready? Right now, I don't know. It is in development. It's not at a point right now where I'm comfortable giving a time frame, just because we want to really make sure we release a quality product that is original, that is unique, that gives people that reminder of what was while having a new refreshed feel. You'll like any longtime clans players will absolutely feel at home in this new game mode, but there will also be some subtle differences, hopefully some improvement, better differences, things like which custom bosses and a more like flushed out battle like dungeon or like reward system for those bosses. And like I said, a lot of that's still in development, and we're working very closely with some members of the old clans community to really make sure we keep the soul of what made that game fun while kind of branching it in our own unique direction that says no, like this is inspired. It is an HCF game mode with um, champions abilities, or I guess conquest ability, champions inspired abilities, but it's still its own unique thing, and it should be treated as such.
So you're saying that the new Factions remake is going to have its own like idea around it. It's going to be not completely different from what we do now know as Mineplex Clans, but it's going to be a different
It's
game.
what I will say is it's going to have its own identity, and it's going to be similar, right? Like anyone who played clans can kind of breathe a sigh of relief right now when I say that pretty much everything you remember will be as close to as it was as we can make it. Um, I can't promise all the names will be the same. I can't promise that the colors of certain things or the textures will be identical, because we just can't do that. And it's you really can't, yeah, we can't copy stuff. We have to make it all from scratch. But the general premise and the kind of like life cycle of the game and what you do on a daily basis will be pretty much the same as it was.
Awesome.
Okay, Flamed. So how do you plan on keeping players on the server, and also how do you plan on attracting new players?
Well, we obviously have a really dedicated community. The fact that just the other day hit about 80 people online from a community mostly made up of people who have been playing for 5 to 10 years at this point shows like we already have a dedicated bunch, but obviously that doesn't last forever. So for our more competitive players, in the next couple weeks, we will be demoing and launching our I guess, proprietary ranked integration is what we're calling it. And that should hopefully streamline the process of playing ranked and competitive game modes on our server and hopefully kind of provide more incentive for players to stick with it. There's going to be a lot of really in-depth stat tracking and analytics done behind the scenes, and that'll be all visible on our website, and some parts of it will be visible in-game. And I think that part is really going to get people excited to just see like the depth that we're going to with tracking stats. Like I know for CCL, they are having us track the location of every kill on the map, so we can see where skirmishes are happening most often, and maps can be adjusted based on that. If like management or the general community doesn't like a certain area, or we think there's too much focus on one side of the map versus the other, so there's going to be a really in-depth look on player stats, and I think that will keep the current player base really satiated for a while, barring the release of other new competitive games. And then as far as like new players in general and casual, we have a few new games coming out by the end of the year. And then I guess for the first time publicly announced, starting in hopefully in early 2026, Critz will be adding 1.21 exclusive content, whether that be SMPs, mini games. We're yet to kind of see how that is all going to look. We're leaning more into the SMP side, or maybe like an MMO style game like Skyblock, but not necessarily Skyblock, but just like an MMO style game. And yeah, we are like that's really exciting. That doesn't mean we're going to be getting rid of the 1.8 network. Current Critz network will always be 1.8 and 1.21 compatible. So any new players that get onto Critz network in the other games, they might siphon over into the casual games, or maybe we need to relook the idea of casual games, add different reward incentives, and that's going to kind of be something we look at more and so in 2026 with 1.21 exclusive. I don't really see our current community starting the casual games unless we added some crazy reward structures. Although we did have a couple of games of Bridge Brawl, Cake Rush, and Turf Rush playing over the last week. I think that's less of a guarantee and more so just like things that pop up every now and then. So yeah, 1.21 content and ranked integration I think are going to be the key to keeping people on and getting new people in.
That sounds really exciting. The SMP sounds really fun too. I know you just kind of spoke about like future plans, but are there any other plans you see for long term on Crits?
We are definitely looking to do a lot of big creator partnerships. We already have a few content creators that we have good lines of communication with and really good relations with. And we've got some really unique ideas and plans to be like working to get those content creators on the server more and engage their audience in a way I don't think really many servers ever have before. But I unfortunately kind of have to keep that on wraps right now because we haven't really spoken much about this, and it's something we don't really need getting out at the moment.
Okay, a little secretive stuff to look forward to.
So exciting. A lot of the members of the community are confused on the difference between league staff and crit staff. Could you tell us about the difference between the two?
Sure. So I guess as a kind of context for anyone who doesn't know, who may be like just kind of getting into this, the competitive leagues were started years ago, um, and they were basically put in place to manage the more obviously competitive side of these different mini games on old Mineplex, and we've since migrated those communities over to crits. The way we're kind of approaching it right now and the policy that we're taking is that the leagues are separate from crits. Crits is just the home of the league. So crit staff are server moderators, admins, developers, the owners, and media on the server, and builders on the server, all that kind of stuff. And the league staff are like your Cake Rush referees, managers, advisors, their media teams. There is some overlap in the sense where I know some of the managers and referees of other leagues are also moderators or even in some cases admins on crits, but that's not necessarily like a rule of thumb. The league staff handle the more like day to day of running the leagues. So when things come up in ranked, like if a player disconnects mid ranked game, or if like there's an issue with scrims or tournaments, that's kind of all handled by the league staff. The Critz staff get more involved in things like cheating accusations, doxing, overall server moderation and maintenance. We try to be as hands off with the leagues as we can, and like the way it sort of works is like, if you think of it this way, a punishment on crits is kind of like a punishment in the other leagues, right? Like if you get banned on crits, you're not playing ranked in the other games. But if a competitive league determines that you had some kind of unfair advantage, and they decide to ban you from their ranked or blacklist you, that doesn't automatically mean you're banned from crits. Now, there are case by case examples where you could say certain cheaters have been banned and blacklisted at the same time, like one before blacklisted before they were banned. But that would be more of a case where they were blacklisted and in the same game there was a crit staff who was there to ban them. So the two things kind of happened in parallel, and it just so happened that the league staff were quicker to issue the blacklist than we were to ban them. But as a general rule of thumb, um, the league staff handle the more competitive sides of the games and the more like day-to-day operations of those features, and the crit staff handle just general server management and upkeep.
Awesome. It's great to hear like the differences because I know a lot of our community members have been kind of confused on like the difference between the league staff and the crit staff. So that's great. How would you say that you handle player feedback or rule enforcement? Because I know a lot of punishments have been lighter than others, and so I would like to hear about how you handle that.
Okay, so our Discord server has a ticketing system where our staff are pinged whenever there's an issue, and we have very active members that check everything every day, and we usually have like a within 24 to 48 hour resolvement of our tickets. Obviously, there are exceptions, but that's kind of the norm. It also really helps that our staff team is not only really passionate about working on this project, but also playing these games. And we've all played these games for years, so we know what they're supposed to feel like. We know how it's all supposed to work, and it's been a really big help, especially with Conquest rank now. The Conquest community is super particular about how everything feels, and I firsthand experienced some glitchiness in one of our games, and I just immediately unqueued and fixed the issues, made a change, and no one even had to report the issue.
That's awesome. So some questions that we have to ask personally, I know that we were like wondering about you and what you think. So what would you say is your favorite feature of the server?
So my favorite feature is the private servers, and that's not just because it's a pretty unique feature. Not many servers have it, but it was one of the hardest things for me to build and get right when I was kind of designing and making everything. So just using it really is super satisfying to see it work and see people using it. It really always brings a smile to my face to come into the lobby and see the NPC for private servers and see like 35, 45 people playing, and I open the menu and there's like 7 or 8 different servers that are just like all full with people having fun playing the games, no issues, and that is so satisfying. It's so much fun for me. And we've also had a lot of really cool and funny moments where like we're waiting for ranked queues to pop and you spawn in like knock back 1,000 sticks or sharpness 100 swords, and you're just goofing off laughing and like sending people flying. So yeah, definitely private servers is my favorite feature.
Have there been any memorable stories or moments from your players?
Yeah, so actually, early on, actually on launch, we had a couple of bugs that popped up immediately because you can't test everything, and it always breaks once you get an initial load of players in. And I can't honestly remember what the specific issue was, but I remember there being a ticket opened for it, and I went through and fixed it probably within like 15 minutes of seeing the ticket, just because my head was just on a swivel that day of making sure everything was going as smoothly as it possibly could and trying to squash every bug that popped up like as quickly as I could. And I guess that person had gotten off, and then they had messaged me like an hour and a half later or 2 hours later, and they were like, "Oh, hey, listen, I like just got on and played, and I just saw it was fixed. Like, just want to like thank you for how fast that was. Like, that was great." And for me, that was a moment of like, yeah, we're doing this right, because you see so many times that like issues get reported and it takes months or years in some cases to get fixed, or maybe it just never does get fixed. And I think a big thing for us is seeing that satisfaction on our players when they know that like their concerns are valid, and people up top are listening. That's why I know I always try and get into the queues at least once a day. And like I just love interacting with everybody. I love seeing everybody play. And I want everyone to know here that like their voice is valid, their concerns are valid, and if they bring up an issue, it will be resolved one way or another. And seeing that kind of confirmation, and it was from somebody who I really didn't know or talk to, like I just got a random DM like 2 or 3 hours later. So it was a very validating moment, or I guess for me as a not only as like the server owner, but just as a developer working on this project, to just see the appreciation was super cool.
That is awesome, Flaymed. I'm glad that you get the satisfaction as well as the players. It's just really nice to hear how much you, I guess, the server means to you. Honestly, do you have any regrets on making crits, or do you have anything that you wish you changed starting from the beginning?
You know what? I really wish I didn't have to make crits. Um, we made crits for a number of reasons, but I guess like we tried to avoid this scenario where we had to make our own standalone server for the communities. But now that it's here, I think it was like one of the best decisions that I've ever made. And as far as like doing things different, I mean, hindsight's always 2020. Like there's definitely things I would have done, I guess, on a code base side, maybe a little bit differently if I was just starting out again. And I think that's something I'm really looking forward to with the 1.21 exclusive content, is it gives me a new chance to kind of take the lessons learned on the 1.8 server, and I guess more specifically for me, the code base, and apply that into, I guess, the 1.21 version. So that's like really exciting for me. Um, Overall, like I guess regrets. I think I personally should have managed my own expectations a little bit more. I thought our launch was gonna be way bigger than it was. Don't get me wrong, it was still great. We had like 75 or 76 people on at launch. Um, I think now though that our community stabilized in that like 50 to 60 range every night, like I've kind of realized like, yeah, this is where we're at right now. Like we weren't going to explode immediately. And I think I was not necessarily like let down, but I wish I had kind of like taken a step back and not gotten caught up in my own hype train kind of thing with like the launch of the server. But yeah.
You said you wish you weren't the one who had to start or develop crits. When you made the decision to actually start making crits, what were the early days actually like?
So the early days, it was a lot of planning, a lot of ideas. It was a lot of energy. We had to kind of worry about like scope creep, obviously, and getting too ahead of ourselves. At least for me, like the development side, it really kicked into overdrive. I had a little bit of a head start in the sense where I had that Bridges game mode from years ago already done, but everything else still had to be made. We made the decision to start making crits in around like, I want to say like the March April timeframe. It wasn't May yet, but after I'd gone through a little bit of a research and planning phase, kind of learning how to make all the infrastructure we were going to need, it timed out really well with my university's final schedule. So um, my university classes ended on a Monday, and then exams started, I guess, that Wednesday, and then went for a whole week. And I had 4 exams, and they were all the next week. So I had basically a full week of nothing before exams. And I'm also a Division One track athlete, and our season had just ended, so I had a lot of free time on my hands to basically work on this. And as much as I'd like to say I'm not proud of this, I kind of am in the sense where I didn't study probably as much as I should have for some exams, but I did fine, so it's chill. But I was working on crits from, oh god, I would go to bed at 3 a.m. and wake up at 8 a.m. And I would only take breaks for lunch and dinner. So, like, I was genuinely putting in like 18, 19-hour days for crits, and I did that like I think for like 4 days straight or 5 days straight. Because on that Friday, I slept for like 14 hours and then started studying for exams. And then as soon as I got out of exams, it was again like going to bed at like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, waking up at like 7:30, 8 o'clock for another week before I had to start training again and actually like have an actual sleep schedule. But it was just a lot of hours, and I had a lot of passion for this, and like I still do. And as much as I said like I regret having to be the one to make it. Like I said, I wish I didn't have to. I have enjoyed the process of it, but obviously it would have been easier if somebody else did, you know. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then
I was
we also got, because of how fast everything came together, and because I was a solo developer until about like 3 weeks before launch, 3 to 4 weeks before launch, we brought in some more volunteer developers. We got a lot of accusations of using like stolen software that we had 2 years to develop, and I just kind of want to set the record straight and like, no, we use all original source code, and we've had enough developers and people in the community, and actually some members who are now with the new Mineplex Studios system that have worked on our project, that we can pretty confidently say our stuff is original, and the overwhelming majority of the server was built in the time frame between the end of April and July. So all of the infrastructure, like the whole engine for the games, the Cake Rush was finished and polished off. The Turf Rush, Dragon Run, and most of Conquest, parts of Ace Arenas, all of that was just done. I was finishing stuff up until the last moment. I was testing our punishment system literally 15 minutes before launch, like making sure that mutes and bans actually worked. And yeah, no, I grinded really hard to get this out as fast and as good as I could. And yeah, I just wanted to take this opportunity to set the record straight. Is we built Critz Network in a little under 3 months with one developer for most of it, and it's all original. So yeah, I still remember waking up on launch day, and this is actually so like comedic because of course it happened this way. Um, I had spilled my water bottle on my keyboard the night before launch, and that morning, the entire morning before launch, we were set to launch at like 3 or 4 p.m., or it might have been, it ended up being 5 p.m. For the until about noon. I couldn't use a keyboard. I was like trying to get mine to work, trying to like get being able to type because like my keyboard just wouldn't even post. I eventually got it like dried out and it now works fine. But I stole my little brother's keyboard, plugged it into my computer, and I was so much slower at working just because you know when like you change keyboards and like your fingers aren't used to like the muscle memory of everything. Like I was
Yes.
trying to reload a new keyboard while finishing like a huge list on our Trello before we launched. Like I said, I started that punishment system about an hour before launch and finished it like 10, 15 minutes beforehand. There was so many like little bugs that came up right before that people just magically found that had to get tweaked and patched, and it was so stressful. And it was such like an adrenaline dump when we finally launched and everything just worked. And I was just like, oh, thank God. What a relief.
That is awesome. Thank you, Flamed. I think I have one final question for you.
All right, let's hear it.
Would you say you're for the community and the players, or are you for our Lord and Savior Spino?
Ooh. See, I do like
What?
Spino, but I think I gotta side with the players on this one. Spino's a great guy. It's all joking aside. He is a great admin. He does good work. He's helped a lot on our build server. He's helped a lot handle the leagues. And yeah, I mean, look, I have to stick with the players, you know, like they're the players. Maybe we can find another Spino. Who knows? Oh, but
Oh, wow.
no, I'm all it's all tongue in cheek. Right? No, Spino's great. The players are great. Everybody's great.
Awesome. Thank you, Flamed, for the interview. Is there anything you'd like to tell the players that they should look forward to, or anything you want to say?
I guess just stay tuned and stay ready because we have a lot of content coming between now and Christmas, and then it's going to be a whole new genre of content and maybe a new wave of players and activity in the new year. And I think a lot of our competitive players will really get to enjoy those like kind of those nostalgic days where you could join a lobby and you didn't know everybody in it and you can kind of run through it a little bit if we get big enough. Fingers crossed. So I guess the just to anyone watching, spread the word, go play ranked, and have fun.
Thank you for playing. Thank you for playing, Critz.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you,
you for
guys.
playing.